studying the first 5 games of Mendoza's tape, and it's not what I expected so far.
Yeah.
Explain.
Yeah, so I'm through 8 games now, and through 8 games, you see good, but there's a lot of underwhelming. I think there's a lot when you watch Mendoza's tape through 8 games, not all the way through, and I understand that his season finishes strong, but I don't know, there's not a ton of big-time throws. There's a lot of clean pockets. There's a ton of RPOs and back shoulder fades, a ton of them, RPOs and back shoulder fades.
Before I go to Lewis here and Stephen A., do you still think he is the clear-cut #1 overall pick?
I'm not there, and that's through half of the season or so. I'm just not there. I have,
Your boy, the crybaby himself, the Christian that can't do any wrong, Fernando Valenzuela. Mendoza. Who gives a fuck? Because he's a bust. He won't be shit.
But the question is where? Where do you have him landing? What do you think?
I'm in the camp that the gap between he and Mendoza is not nearly as big as the public seems to think.
Okay.
First 8 or even 9 tapes for both Mendoza and Simpson. I promise you Simpson's tape's better. It just is.
This past weekend at the NFL Combine, college prospects showcased their talents and showed what they could offer to NFL teams in this year's 2026 draft. With one key prospect sitting out, reporters and talk shows began to discuss if he's the clear cut for the first overall pick, and maybe if teams should go a different way. But why? After throwing for over 40 touchdowns, leading your team to the national championship, and winning the Heisman, shouldn't it be a clear fact that you should be taken #1 overall? Most of these talk shows and analysts are talking about Mendoza's film and what it portrays. They explain how it's lackluster and shows a multitude of RPOs and deep ball fades, and they're technically not wrong. Excluding obvious goal line situations, the Hoosiers passed more than 64% of the time out of 12 personnel or heavier, and they rarely threw the ball to a tight end outside of garbage time. More often than not, the extra tight end was bait to the defense, so they would step down on the play action or the RPO. But what about Mendoza's tape? Does it say different? Fernando Mendoza finished last season with a 72% overall completion percentage, 3,535 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, with an average depth of target of 9.2 yards. Now, stats can say a lot, but it doesn't cover the full picture, so let's look at something more complex. How about Mendoza's deep ball stats and accuracy? The majority of his production last season came from high percentage throws within 10 yards with over 191 completions, 1,600 yards, and 16 touchdowns. But what about throws over 10 yards? Mendoza's accuracy on 10 plus throws were as effective as you could be, completing 54.4% of his passes. Even his deep balls of 20 plus yard completions was 53.5%, completing 23 out of 43 passes on attempts of at least 20 plus yards. Mendoza threw for 955 yards, 11 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. Now let's compare him to some people. I want you guys to take a look at these stats and see who this person is compared to Mendoza and the way they performed in college to where they're at now. On the left, you see Mendoza's 3 seasons, 2 at Cal, 1 at Indiana. In his best season, he had a 72% completion percentage, over 3,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, but that's not really it. Look at his seasons in California as well. 69% completion percentage, over 3,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. That's still not bad. Now I want you guys to take a look at this guy on the right. Same height, little bit less in weight, but look at the stats. 66% completion percentage in his freshman year, 4,300 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Around the same as Mendoza, slightly better, but in his junior year, Mendoza played better than him in his sophomore year, the year before he was drafted. And who is this? Oh yeah, that's Drake May. Alright. Let's do someone different. Look at this player. Better than Mendoza in his 2nd season, but not really in his 3rd season. Not as good as Mendoza, has less touchdowns, the same amount of interceptions, and he had a way less amount of yards. And even in his 2nd season, he had 3,203 yards, which was still less than Mendoza's best season. 28 touchdowns was still less than Mendoza's, and 15 interceptions, which was 9 more than Mendoza. His completion percentages are lower, and the amount of completions and attempts that he's thrown are pretty much around the same, if not less than what Mendoza threw. Now, can you guess who this is? Oh right, that's former MVP Josh Allen. I remember the same things that people were saying back in 2018 when the Bills got Josh Allen. They judged him on how he threw funny, how he wasn't really a pocket quarterback, he would use his legs too much. But do you think anyone mentions that now? after the development and what he's shown and what he's proved? I'll leave you here with this. Any prospect that you get, you're going to have to develop them. Even if it's a rookie, and even if he hasn't showcased what he really has to offer. But the development of a product that's unfinished, that has shown a great amount of potential, the sky's the limit. And the fact that people are criticizing him for the emotion or the way he acts on the field, I mean, what do you want out of the guy? The man loves football. The man would die for his teammates. And with the Raiders looking for a quarterback who actually cares, with them having a star defensive guy, tight end, running back, and new Super Bowl head coach Clint Kubiak, this might sound crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders are in the playoffs next season. I'll see you guys next time.